So the players defect from their team to work with a bounty hunter, leading to a decrease in collaboration and trust among the team members. They withhold information from their team and act in their own self-interest and undermine the progress of the team. Wow, that's a very mean player, whoever that might be. But there are people like that in our teams, and we know it as well, don't we? As you might already know, I run a SaaS company that designs games for learning, and one of our games is a game called Evivve, and in it there are many game mechanics and game elements, and it's often a challenge to think of all of them when facilitating the learning experience. So I created what I like to call a facilitation assistant that the users can use in order to facilitate a powerful learning experience as an outcome of the game itself. So let's dive in and take a look at what this artificial intelligence system does and looks like. Now, what I noticed was that a lot of the facilitators who were delivering fantastic learning experiences were people who understood the mechanics and the dynamics of the game environment. Now, a big problem for me was, how do I get all of these game mechanics and dynamics into the head of a facilitator so that the facilitator can effectively facilitate the learning experience? Well, with the introduction of AI, I no longer have to do that. So let me show you what I've been able to do with integrating AI into Evivve. So within Evivve, you're effectively able to create games. So we're going to create a sample game just now, just so that we kind of get a sense of what the game and environment looks like and how you might be able to actually use it. So let's say that the game is running at the moment, and you want to further debrief this learning experience. And so the way you would go about doing this is you would start by identifying some productive behaviors that these learners are displaying. So perhaps here the player is able to assess the potential risks and benefits of purchasing the land and makes informed decisions about about which land to purchase and so on. Let's say that we are looking for how well they communicate, or how well they're unable to communicate effectively. So let's type that out and see, and we've got the player effectively actively communicates with their team. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So let's select that one, and let's go over to the counterproductive behaviors, and let's see if we're able to find anything on trust. So the players defect from their team to work with a bounty hunter, leading to a decrease in collaboration and trust among the team members. They withhold information from their team and act in their own self-interest and undermine the progress of the team. Wow, that's a very mean player, whoever that might be. But there are people like that in our teams, and we know it as well, don't we? So we're going to check that off, and then let's say that we are adding a few more tidbits of information, and let's say we call it the team seems to have a hard time trusting one another. Yeah, let's put that in as well. And let's go ahead and hit facilitate. And what you're going to notice is all of these points that you've noted down in the form of your selected behaviors from the game, along with the additional note that you put in here. And then the system, the facilitation assistant, gives you, this is the AI assistant, using ChatGPT generative AI. And we're saying, the system is now using that information to give you a few lenses that you can look at to operate from. So let's say the lens that you could be looking at right now is analyze decision-making dysfunctions. As a facilitator, this is a priority for you right now that perhaps the organization needs to move in, right? Or it could be discuss the trust implications on productivity, or evaluate strategic collaboration outcomes, or reflect on individual versus team goals, or debrief on lessons learned together. So you could choose any of these, or you could say, what, I want to create my own lens because none of these are where I want the organization to go. So perhaps the one that I will be writing in this context is evaluate the impact of trust on the culture of the organization. And I would add something along the lines of and draw parallels from the game to the real world. But I'm not going to because it might just be too long, but you can. And because if you need that additional help from linking it from the game ecosystem into the learning ecosystem, then do that, because you will think of it like this. The AI assistant, the facilitation assistant, already knows the entire game and is prepared to answer just about any question related to the game context. So you're able to do this, and then we're going to use that lens, because we just created the lens there, and then we are going to use the lens. And boom, it's going to give you a step-by-step guided process of how to facilitate a game, Evivve specifically, on in the context of these behaviors that you chose first, and then this lens that you're wearing, and it's breaking it down by starting to tell you how to do the entire thing. And you could say, starts with open a discussion on the importance of trust in an organizational culture, and then moves into share the observed behaviors during the game session. So you're bringing game elements into the context, and then it also gives you some examples of how to do that, where the level of trust was influenced. Think about those times. So it's really a discussion, and then moves into conduct reflection activity, ask participants to conduct individual reflection, and then moves into group reflection, group discussion, and it goes on into closing with a reaffirmation of commitment to trust. So you can see this is a really well designed facilitation guide, basically. And now you could, at this point, you could be, I don't really need this because I'm already a pro facilitator. I need to know the questions that I need to be asking during the debrief. I can think about it and come up with those questions myself, but if you've got an assistant that does that, then show me it, and here it is. So the questions that you could ask are as follows. How do you define trust? What does it mean to you? And that's the opening question. So you're starting the conversation with, let's talk about trust. What does it mean? And how do you define it if you had to? Because sometimes trust is such a esoteric sort of, it's a feeling you feel, it's something that is present, but you don't always have the ability to quantify it. And that question kind of leads right into that. The second one could be, can you share an experience where trust has positively or negatively impacted your work environment? That could be a significant one, and we can actually change that as well, and we can say it negatively impacted how you played the game, and then further into, does this draw any parallels into your work life as well? And then how has trust influenced the way your team communicates and collaborates? That's probably another one that you might want to consider. So point being that it gives you a list of 10 questions, facilitation questions, that you can use in order to facilitate the debrief itself. And that can be a really powerful tool, in the hands of facilitators. Here you're able to take some additional notes, and whatever notes you take that emerge from the facilitation get integrated into the overall understanding of this program, and that gets used to chart and craft the way forward as far as next steps are concerned. So that's an example of how we've used AI, generative AI, and integrated it with learning games. And I reckon that you should be able to do this for any games, because games fundamentally can be used for enabling learning, and I've been a huge proponent of this. I've been talking about this for a while, but effectively you should be able to use any game and convert it into a learning game with a tool like this. So if you are interested in a more generic version, this version of the facilitation assistant is meant purely for Evivve in this case, but if you're interested in a facilitation assistant that would be valuable for any board game across the board, all you have to do is select the board game, and then it does something along these lines. Let me know in the comments below. I will try and create a modified version of this tool, and see if that could be valuable to any of you. So let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all later. So this is what I mean when I say integrating learning games into AI. It's that Star Wars.
They wanna see my progress stifle, I'ma load this rifle. I'm aiming high to stack this money up tall as the Eiffel Tower.